We are live. Hello, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well tonight. This camera is out of focus. What the hell? Like, focus. Come on. Come on. You can do it. There you go. Don't know what the hell the problem is with it tonight. Anyways, hello, everybody. Yeah, so, once again, there's a power vacuum. I'll try to fill it. Porcelain Thunder is first, or he's a supporter of Bill Frist, former senator. I'm not sure. One guy was kind of around, so be careful who you're backing there. Just saying, Porcelain. That's a little bit of an issue. So, I'm just like I said, just be cautious. So I did find a interesting thing we can look at. It's a brief from an interesting case where, believe it or not, the astroturf bullshit from the Giffords campaign is advocating for racist gun control laws, which is hilarious. So, but we'll get started on that in a minute and just see who comes in. I don't know how long we're going to go for tonight, guys. I've had a long day, so I'm a little beat. Cedar Rose saying this is better than the Simpsons clip you're watching. It depends which Simpsons episode. Didn't I wear the shirt yesterday? Yes, but today was laundry day, so I pulled it back out and got washed. We're going to talk about the riggers. There's always a bunch of talk about with the riggers. I'm not going to lie, though. I did watch the bits and pieces of the Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing that was on Netflix. I'm like, I didn't get in it. It showed some of the streams where, some of Nick's streams and some Legal Bites streams, and wasn't in those. It's like, son of a bitch. That way I could have actually gone and put on my stuff, like, as seen on Netflix. So, too bad, so sad. But it was it's a bit of an interesting documentary, the way they cover how quick things exploded. But they don't really get, they get into it just a little bit, and I don't think they really did it service. But overall, it's still not worth watching. Yes, Ricolette's talking about the snake bites. Yes. Two Scoops saying nothing I said would have ever passed the censorship. I'm not worried about that. I was just worried about, like, is my picture up there? Porcelain Thunder says yes, they did show the cut cage. That 100% happened, which was very funny. So, yeah, I thought that, and also, I mean, I will say, I know they had a lot of Emily Baker on there, which I don't think they did her justice, because they kept on talking about her as though she was like all the other yahoos out there and not an actual attorney. I don't think they really did it fair to her on that. Patty says Americans are so spoiled they have clothes for every day. Yes, we do. D. Marie says I didn't get my 15 minutes of fame yet. No, but hey, there's always time. There's going to be something at some point. Something will happen. Something will happen. Mega Mobus is saying, it's first time watching you live. Love your cynicism and dark humor. Thank you. Long live the farms and Null and Nick's secret you love. Yes, well, thank you. I appreciate that. My 15 minutes of fame will be discussed in future law courses. Well, depends on which topic. Maybe in ethics, maybe in criminal law. Don't know yet. Patty of saying it's better not be where you're the defendant, though. You never know. You never know. Carrie saying Emily's chat, I understand, can be restrictive at times, but hey, that's her ship. That's how she runs it, and that's how she has her people run it. So that's just how it goes. So yeah, if you guys, like I said, if you get the chance, watch it. It's not bad. Not bad at all. It's also, there's only like 3 episodes and they're super short, and you can skip through bits and pieces of it because they do talk about some things that if you've already seen the saga, you already know about. And there's, yeah, I mean, like there's a couple spots where you can fast forward through to see the reactions and their analysis of the reactions. Trevor saying, Sean, I found myself doing almost solely admin law work, and I already want to jump off a bridge. Well, I'm assuming it pays decent. Hopefully, it pays good, and if you want to do it, man, you can always hang your own shingle. It's not fun. I mean, it's hard. It's hard work, and or look around. There might be a public defender's office hiring, and God forbid if you really want to go to it, if there's you really want to do something, you can. I mean, guess God, if you really want to go work at a prosecutor's office. I mean, you do what you got to do. I'm not sure I'd encourage that, but hey, they're out there. I mean, there's a million different things out there. Like right now, you're looking. Heck, I just pulled up like there's all kinds of places around. Just got to find something. Got to find something that suits you, and you don't have to. You don't have to run like to find the first thing. You can take your time, look for something good. That's how I would recommend you do it. So that's all I can really say there. But I wish you the best of luck. Just don't jump off the bridge. Or if you do, make sure you jump in a way like you minimize the splatter. I was thinking, because I just like future Mrs. Martin and I were watching Canadian Bacon tonight. If you guys haven't seen that John Candy movie, and they're yelling at people to jump off the falls so they can go fish the bodies out of the river to get paid more. Amateur iconoclasts get into tree law. Yes. Said Emily's. I didn't say that. Jeez, you need to like take a Xanax, Gary. Just take a Xanax for a second. Also, by the way, I did speak to locals. They're looking into what's going on with your ability not to watch stuff. So they might get in touch with you to see what's going on from your end. Patty saying, would you say being a lawyer with your own law firm is not worth it? I mean, like doing your own thing. I mean, it's got the pros and cons. I mean, I could do this. I'm not restricted on what I can say. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of advantages. There's a lot of disadvantages. I mean, the hardest part is, in addition to running your firm, you're running a business. So that's, the part that sucks, but you got to go do. Chadwick is saying, do I have any advice for the training of IRS agents? No, but we'll actually talk about that. There were some things that we could talk about now that I've since come up with. Before I said I have no ideas, so there are some things we can look at. Common lawyers saying state bars are important for showing you no state's laws, but also makes it tough for lawyers to move where the jobs are. The national bar examiners are changing the bar standards. Not necessarily good. Yeah, but here's the thing. I don't like the bar exam. I think it should exist. You should have some basic knowledge of the law of the state you're practicing in. This idea of having like a uniform bar exam, you pass it, great, and you don't know anything about the law of the state you're in, which is kind of critical. So I don't understand why they're doing it. Um, but yes, I do think it's important. I do think there's a way to do it. And I think the way a lot of places are doing it right now is not a good idea. Fem Natal saying, what happened to the IRS incident? Yes. Oh no, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. So just saying, what's the plan, man? We're gonna kind of wing it. But Cedar Rose is saying there's a Brooks trial. Yes, Daryl Brooks still has another trial. It involves the girlfriend he beat up. And that's still going forward. I don't know if it's going to be televised, but yes, he's still got one more trial left. So I guess we'll start off with the IRS issue. So out in Arizona, you hate to see it. Some IRS agents were out training at a range in Arizona, and well, one of them shot the other and killed them. So, just like, ooh, too bad, so sad. Maybe the guy was dressed as a maybe he was dressed as a dog. I'm not really sure what happened, but something happened. And I'm sure it's all going to get swept under the rug. But the shooting happened during a firearms training exercise, and it was on the firing range of a nearby prison where they're allowed to use it. And it was routine training, which I don't understand what routine training is, but yes, the guys shot each other, which is always fun to see and fun to hear about. I don't know how you did that. Maybe it was a force on force exercise and they forgot to switch out their ammo. Nobody really knows for sure yet. So it is yeah, we don't know what happened for sure. I'm sure they're going to investigate and find themselves not guilty of doing anything. So anyways, one less Fed out there. So that's not really enough in the chats time, in my opinion. Yes, common lawyer says, yes, their criminal investigation division are their armed agents, but hey, Fed's a Fed. If you happen to be a Fed out there, sorry. MJ says was Baldwin in the training. Maybe he was. Maybe he was. So Blackwater saying the agent didn't have his tax stamp. Yes. Yeah, like I said, oh well. Oh well. Yes. James Hunting is right. End scene. Fat Jesus, real quick, is asking about Cyrax. Is Cyrax going to jail? Okay. From reading the farms and listening to Cyrax, I guess I'll put it out there now. My comments about Cyrax being able to articulate some sort of issue with being antagonized and being lured outside to deal with the issue that faced him was mainly going to be towards a issue in mitigation at his sentencing, because he came out with a bat to attack a guy holding a sign. That's disproportionate use of force. And he's going to have a tough time with that. He's probably not going to be able to beat it. The one thing I think will probably save Cyrax, if it does happen at all and he does go to trial, is that, his victim's not going to show up. Is not going to be there. I mean, this is going to be set far enough down the road. Can that guy afford to come back? Because he doesn't live around here. And that's a problem. Number one. Number two, even if he does show up, is he going to come across the jury as an insufferable fucking douchebag who deserved to get hit with a bat? Because he's going to have to admit, yeah, I kind of showed up there and I was solely there just to fuck with this guy. And, regular people don't like that kind of stuff. The normies don't. So those are two ways Cyrax probably wins. The idea of like using fighting words, it's just meant that, the judge would understand, look, he got agitated. But other than that, no, he's going to be toast. He's toast on a cracker. So beat it with the bat. Yes. Beat it with a bat. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with Cyrax going forward, but that's kind of where we are with it. That's what I would argue. That's where things are. That said, he does have a good attorney. He did hire a good attorney. Jonathan Sin is a good attorney and might be able to bring home the dub. Kim was saying, am I pro Linus or no? No, I think what they did was bullshit. They took that guy's stuff, they sent it out, and basically gave it away to his competitor. I think they're in a lot of trouble. And I think it's only beginning for them. So there's that. And then there's also the whole fact that, he let his guy True out, and now he's just farming views off that. But hey, the grift is the grift is the grift. I just will never use that grift. Wait. Pay saying, how about not going to people's houses to harass them? Hey, there's sidewalks. First Amendment, man. You're allowed to go. You're allowed to be part of a group. And Woofer's saying, what if they have a racist flag? I mean, if they show up waving the stars and bars, which is not the battle flag in Northern Virginia, that's a separate flag. There's, let's say they come out waving the stainless banner, or they wave a Kriegsmarine naval jack. There's a lot of flags you can wave. You don't just get to attack people for waving a flag. Penny says Cyrax has a retard defense. Yeah, he does. But that's not acceptable in Ohio. He could be a retard and still be found guilty. So don't rely on it. Don't rely on it. Because if it worked, I'd be relying on it for myself all the time. No, this is one somebody actually had sent to me before, and there's a lot to it now. This is fandom run amok, and it's not the typical type of fandom you would think about. This guy's an NFL fan. He's a fan for the Chiefs, the Kansas City Chiefs, not the Chefs. And he's also a furry, which kind of makes a lot more known to this now. But he went ahead and started. I just thought it was interesting that Sports Illustrated was covering this because it is a little interesting what happened here. Why is this? Oh, goddamn! We'll pull it up. So, this super fan who's a furry. Yes, and we're going to show him. Yes, here's the furry boy. There he is in all his glory. Look at that. Look at that. I mean, that is. If that is not Chad level performance, I don't know what is. That is just pure, success. You can just feel it emanating off him like radiation. So what did this guy do? He really liked Kansas City. And he liked Kansas City so much. Obviously he liked Kansas City so much that he had been robbing banks. And he robbed the banks so he had money to be a super fan. Um, he was so he had been arrested for robbing a bank, um, cut off his ankle monitor, which you don't do. If you're on an ankle monitor, you should stay on it because if you cut it off, well, yes, you get arrested. So, Xavier Babudar, he's also known as the Chiefsaholic, which I guess, you know, I just think it's all gay, but that's because he's not a Cleveland fan. If he was a Browns fan, he'd be my dude. He'd be Ohio man in a nutshell. Was running around California for over 3 months as a fugitive. So, he had done multiple things, including robbing a credit union in Oklahoma, but he'd also robbed other banks, and that he had traveled to various locations to rob banks in credit unions. He would launder the proceeds for bank accounts and casinos, which that's a very common way to do it. I'm not saying that's the best way. There are better ways to launder your money. If you are robbing from banks, I just can't tell you how to do it. So he's been charged with bank theft and interstate transportation of stolen property. Um, he's in a lot of trouble, and they still think he's stolen from more and more and more banks. So I he initially got arrested once, and I thought, okay, that sounds interesting. But since then, the guy disappeared. He has since been rearrested, and they're finding out he robbed a bunch of banks here. So, according that he stole about $850,000 from 6 banks, which isn't a bad haul. Now he did fuck up though because he had over $160,000 covered in red dye, which banks generally don't do the dye packs as much anymore. It's usually a tracker. But I have always thought it'd be funny to come in and do a big cash deposit and just have like dye stained dollar bills and $100 bills. You're like, here you go. I'd like to deposit this money. And just have my hands just covered in like the red dye and be like, do you guys accept these? And see what would happen. So they do talk about in his affidavit how he went ahead and did these things, which is very, run of the mill, kind of the basic bitch way of laundering money through a casino, which they'll track and they'll find very quickly. So don't do it. They are very good at that. At this point, he also triggered enough suspicious transaction reports with the things that he deposited, things going on that the agent wrote they attempted whether to find out a legitimate source of income. Well, legitimate to them, meaning he was paying taxes on it. And this guy was a bit of an idiot. He wasn't working anywhere, so they could show that, well, why was he getting any money at all? I mean, if he had a job, they probably wouldn't have come after him. I mean, it would have made it a lot harder for him. So once again, guys, you got to think these things through. If you want to engage in robbery, you got to have a plan. You got to have a plan. So, Ron Sappington says they have pulled money in the cash room and pulled the silent alarm sounds. Yep, they do. Banks have all kinds of procedures and things they do there. Stacy says, here's a hint. Don't spend the 5 $100 bills strapped together. That is the tracked money. Yeah, there's ways you can look to find out what's being tracked, what's not. The easiest way, though, is don't go rob a fucking bank. I mean, that's the easiest way to make sure nothing happens to you. So he also, remember, he had his cell phone, which he had his tracking device with him. Remember, these tattle on you in so many ways. Don't bring them with you when you commit crimes. Bring a burner phone. And have it be a dumb burner phone, not necessarily a good burner phone. Because immediately what you're going to do with that burner phone That's a smartphone. You're going to start fucking around with it, using it for all your other stuff, and they'll recognize it's you. So don't use a smartphone. But yes, he's in a lot of trouble. I'm curious to see how that goes for him. Eric says, bring the dyed money to the laundromat. Yeah, that's great. Chaucer Fraud says, you can retire in many third world countries for $600,000. Yeah, problem is you're in a third world country. So that's the issue there. Eric, he's going there and say, look, my kids spilled paint on all the money. Carrie says paying taxes, yeah. And Rob Doris saying this is not legal advice, yes. J Rock is saying this is why you hit the armored trucks. Yeah, that's the issue though. You hit the armored trucks. I mean, you got to do it like Heat style, where you've got you're cutting through the truck. You've got some good response times down. I mean, because otherwise, if you do it, it's going to turn out. If you guys watch The Town when they do the armored car hit, they try to pull there, and the one guard gets his gun out and gets in the fight. I mean, they cause some problems. Like, you've got to hit a truck hard, and you might end up having to kill people as part of it. But yes, hitting an armored truck, that's a lot of working pieces to that. And it's just something to think about. I mean, yes, you can take it en route and maybe try to isolate it, but I don't know. I mean, you're going to be working out in broad daylight in front of everybody. Like, you're putting on a street performance. Like, that's as like you're doing street theater when you get out. I mean, I'm just saying, I did one of my years of college. I didn't want to get my buddies when try to dress us up like the ambulance crew in the jumpsuits, but we couldn't get that to work properly. So I'm not saying go rob an armored car, but I'm saying if you're going to do it, you really got to plan your work and work your plan, because that's going to be fairly technical. There's a lot of moving parts there. Cody said, so he had an ankle monitor and a phone while doing this. No, he had robbed a bunch of banks and they put him on an ankle monitor. And after he had been arraigned and gone through court, he cut the ankle monitor off and then ran off to California. But he always had his phone with him when he was robbing banks. That's how they're trying to figure out they can locate him near the banks. Wait. Stacey's saying the armored truck needs to be an inside job. No, that's where they'll start looking. That's where they'll start looking. Eric is saying, didn't the two North Hollywood bank heist guys hit some armored trucks? Yes, they did. They did. And they were doing pretty good. They were staying off the radar. I mean, they were. And then they tried the North Hollywood Bank of America, and just bad timing. The cops were driving right by when the alarm went off. That's the problem. That's what hurt him. So, Dern is saying you can rob a bank without actually having a weapon. Yes. Yes, a dumb man robs a bank with a gun. Smart man robs a bank with a pen. And I don't mean writing a note. I mean, working in the bank, committing a white collar crime. That's how you rob a bank. Where are you guys? Let me see here. What do you guys like? No, don't eat your burner phone. Don't eat your burner phone. Julie's saying this is not legal advice, just criminal advice. Yeah, We can call it that. So that'd be fun to do, though, sit around and just be like, um, G, G, I haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you, man. Saying the trick to getting away with it is being a Fed. Yes, that's a very true thing. So, to be Flair says the Hollywood guys got too greedy. Yeah, they violated one of the 48 laws of power. Y- Yeah, but they got a little high on their muscle relaxers. So I think that kind of screwed them up too as well. Salty Ball saying it wasn't the alarm a cop saw him going in. Yeah, whatever it was, that they had the worst timing in the world, the worst luck possible. Had it been 30 seconds later, they probably would have had enough time to get out of there. But yes, had they they were seen going in or people had noticed, yeah. So Black Alien says he looks like a gay Uber driver in Pasadena. Me? I mean, like, stop it. Julia's saying, but if your phone is off or has no activity, it's you. That's why you have to come up with a plan of how do you get around that issue. There's a lot of work involved in committing a crime in a way that avoids your detection. It's hard. And if you don't do it right, you screwed. So, yeah, aside from crime being wrong, it's also not encouraged because you have to be 100% correct. Cole Roberts for $2 saying, how do I thank you, by the way, for the super chat saying, how do you typically win your case? Is procedure or through argument? Eh, I've had a case or two. You're generally not going to win on a procedural issue in criminal things. If there's like a suppression argument, sure, but at a trial, generally you don't run into the issue of the state not meeting the elements of the offense. But certainly, if they do, you go ahead and procedurally bring up that they didn't, and that should be a dismissal. A lot of times, I mean, it's really going to come down to how well you can sell it to a jury. So, um, mild culture plate saying, "How do you get a?" Actually, a super chat right here. I'm sorry, I didn't see these earlier, so my apologies. My apologies. Um, um, mild culture plate for $2 saying, "What about a don't tread on George Floyd flag? Could you wave that around?" You could, depending where you're at. You in front of the Cup Foods in St. Paul. Ugh, or Minneapolis or wherever the hell it is up there in the Twin Cities. Like, yeah, I'm not sure that'd be a good idea. Do it here in Ohio, you probably okay. Mullen La Bay 1371 for $5. Thank you. I'm saying the IRS just got you reminded why they don't enforce gun laws anymore. Yes. And if you guys weren't aware, the ATF was part of the Department of Treasury because their original job was to be revenuers, to make sure taxes were paid. So, yes, you can hate the ATF for infringing on the Second Amendment, but you can also hate them because originally they were revenuers and nobody likes those guys. Everybody hates revenuers. In fact, Rocky Top, the state song of Tennessee, is one of the coolest state songs ever because it talks about murdering federal agents in it. Just listen to it and you'll figure it out. Um, Mild culture plate again for $2. Thank you, Mild. I appreciate it. It's saying we Chiefs fans don't claim dog face. Yeah, I don't get the it's weird to me. You think he'd be like as a big Indian furry, not a dog, but hey, he's one of your people. Just embrace it. That's kind of neat street cred. Not the furry part, but the bank robbery part's pretty cool. And then Cole again for $2 says, "How do you assess the time required for your case?" Um, You mean like, hold on. You don't have to send this as a super chat, Cole. I'll try to see if you type it down here. Are you saying in the sense of how do I know how long, like how to charge for a case? Like if you come to me and say, hey, here's my indictment. What do you think? Here, like, how much do you want me to, like, how much is it going to cost? Because that's one thing. Like, what's this case going to turn into? I don't know. Everything could be, um, some cases it's going to be a simple thing and it turns into a long drawn out thing. Like I had an assault case. It was a misdemeanor assault. It turned into a hung jury. We went to trial and it turned into a hung jury, and then it drug on for like almost a whole another year for the retrial, with a bunch of hearings about trying to get it dismissed. So it all depends. So you responded. You were saying, shit at trial for each individual witness and for presentation of the evidence. I mean, how do I know the time required? You kind of get a feel for it. And if you're especially if you're talking to the prosecutor, you guys kind of figure out what you're going to present, how it's going to get presented. You have an idea, aside from some more complex things or multiple defendants, you can try most types of cases within 3 days. And I would say 90% of those, or even more than 90%, maybe 95%, you could try within 2 whole days and then let the jury deliberate. It's not that, we've talked, I mentioned this a lot when we're watching some of these more involved or drawn out trials. These are not the norm. Like in America, you're looking at one day trials, 2 day trials, jury deliberates, and that's it. So I hope that answers your question. Trans Roof Korean, thank you. I was saying, I love the references there. Saying you could retire in a third world country, 600K. Oh, Dankula did a Mad Lad video on John McAfee today. I didn't know that. I will take a look at it. I will. He shows us, and it's demonetized. Well, they are slow to approve me for things at times. Rosman Ranch says, "Can you read it to us as a bedtime story?" I'll do a spoken version of Rocky Top. Let's see. Here we go. We'll find a. All right. Okay. All right. Let me bring this up here. J Rock is saying no. I'm not sure what we're talking about. No. So, all right, let's get to this. Okay, so the Osborne brothers wrote Rocky Top. It's the state song for Tennessee. It's also Tennessee, University of Tennessee's fight song. So, I wish that I was on Rocky Top, down in the Tennessee hills. Ain't no smoggy smoke on Rocky Top. Ain't no telephone bills. Once I had a girl on Rocky Top, half bear, the other half cat. Wild as a mink, but sweet as sody pop. I still dream about that. Rocky Top, you'll always be home sweet home to me. Good old Rocky Top, Tennessee. Rocky Top, Tennessee. And this is the part here with feeling, everybody. Once two strangers climbed old Rocky Top, looking for a moonshine still. The strangers ain't come down from Rocky Top and reckon they never will. Now, draw the conclusions you'd like from that. Draw the conclusions you'd like from that one. I'm sure they weren't just sightseeing. Besides, I'm not advocating for it. It is a state song. It is the Tennessee Volunteers fight song. There's nothing wrong with it. Oh. So. Oh. Trust Fraud saying, do I give them an hourly rate? You don't tell them this case will take X hours. Well, when it comes to criminal stuff, you generally are doing it on like a flat rate. You give them a quote for a price. And that's just because people, if you try to do it hourly, and present like a bill every month, a lot of people can't pay you that way. And besides that hour, you'll just eat money up like that. And a lot of people can't afford that. So you'll give them a flat rate, but you set your terms. Like, I need at least half now, depending on the type of case, depending on how sketchy your client is. You might say, I need 2/3 up front. And the other third we can work out with things. Or depending on your client, you might have, and depending on their type of case, if it's somebody you've dealt with forever and they've got like a DUI at some point. Okay, well, they just got it. Okay, well, tell them start bringing in money every week and we'll be ready to go. There's a bunch of ways you can do it, but I have not had a criminal case where I've just billed hourly like that and presented a bill every month. I know like Kyle Rittenhouse was kind of like that, but for the average cases, that's not a common thing. I'm not Bruce Rivers. Bruce Rivers probably does that, but I'm not the big time yet like him. So Stormcrow says the moonshiners are the ATF, yes, or revenuers. Somebody who needed somebody who got they needed it. Stacy says, do I accept credit card payments? Yes. I do. At times I do, but it also depends. Every once in a while, I get jerked around by the credit card and or through Square, and you have to, you don't use them for a little while, and then they say, oh, come back, we won't fuck you on percentages again, and everything's good for a little while, and then they fuck around, or their machines are pieces of shit. Then you go back to it. Yeah, there's ways you can do it though. But I mean, the common things are like Venmo, Zelle, Cash App, using PayPal. You could pay through those on credit cards too. So there's always a way. Clown World residents. I mean, what do I think of the Rich Men North of Richmond song? It's funny because, I mean, it's true. I mean, when you look at when you look at a map of the richest counties in the United States, there's if you do it by maps and you look at where they are, I mean, you can use. It is very interesting to see what they are, because they are a couple counties that you may have heard of before, such as Arlington County. You've probably heard of Fairfax County. You've probably heard of Loudoun County. Well, where are these counties? I mean, there's a bunch of them. So where are those counties at? Well, they're in Northern Virginia. It is not a it is not a coincidence to that. In fact, I mean, we'll bring it up right now. It's Wikipedia's got the list, but yeah, it's the rich men north of Richmond, Virginia, Loudoun County, Falls Church County. You've got Fairfax County. It's where Johnny Depp went to trial. You've got Arlington County, like where Arlington National Cemetery is. Then you've got places like Howard County. Okay. And Howard County is yeah, it's near DC. I mean, these places are like that. You have counties all over the DC area. Then you have other ones that are out there that are obviously huge and well set up. But yes, it is the Richmond north of Richmond. I think the song is pretty good overall. I understand people like, oh my god, he talks about welfare. Like, okay. The only thing I'll tell you is when it comes to that stuff, you just got to be careful. It's like, is this, you know, be careful you're not being fed prepackaged bullshit too. That's the only other thing you got to worry about. So much of it's prepackaged bullshit from somebody pushing it. Is this guy really his own thing, or is this a fucking psyop half the time? Just got to be careful. Just got to use your head. Sure fucks is super chats. I mean, like, could people pay me in super chats for clients? I mean, that'd be an interesting way of doing it, but that would be hard because I don't have a way to trust account that money. Mega Bobass for $5 is saying, need to get a hold of Short Round. He's the ultimate flagsmith. I spent a few dollars on some of his flags. I'll have to look him up. Kelly R for $5. Thank you, Kelly. Is saying, how can the city take your property after a fire if you can't afford to rebuild and you're paying the taxes? I mean, if they can claim it's like a condemned property and you haven't properly demolished it, that sometimes can be an issue. I mean, eminent domain. I mean, part of the issue is if we're talking about in Hawaii, Hawaii is a very corrupt state. And that's the thing I don't think a lot of people realize. Hawaii is a very, very, very corrupt place. It's very corrupt and has a big racism issue there, especially if you're not Hawaiian. I mean, that is a long day. Hawaii's got a whole set of problems. And then Cole for $2. Thank you. Saying thank you for that. And saying, do you think you passed the bar when you wrote it? I mean, when I took it. I mean, it depended on the day. I mean, and even from the day, I mean, it depended on the hour or even hour from like minute to minute if I was thinking about it. And, I had to think about other things. So, when I got done with the bar, it was downtown Columbus. You take it, I got there Monday night, took it Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon, took it Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon. And then when I did it, you took a Thursday morning session and you were done at noon. And then you could go home. And I had to drive like 2.5 hours from Columbus back up to Toledo. I didn't think about it, and I was just so mentally exhausted. I got to my house, and I don't remember I didn't remember any of the drive. I could have like ran people over, and I wouldn't have remembered it. I don't remember getting home. Like even now when I think about it, I don't remember the drive. I remember getting in the car, and then I remember getting home. But yeah, I mean, a lot of times I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, I did okay, and then I'm thinking, fuck, I probably didn't. It just depended on the day. It was a very manic time because you're thinking, oh, I did okay. No, I didn't. It's rough in that regard. And it didn't get any better, as you got closer to the day because they tell you, I don't know about every state, but in Ohio they tell you on such and such day at such and such time, your results will be posted. And by golly, they fucking post them at that date and time. So here's a bit of an issue. Do I pay extra for them to jerk you? Why would I pay extra for that? And I charge them, the luxury of getting to jerk me. Yes, maps do go on the wall. Patty's saying all those areas in DC are spook central. It's not just spooks, it's just government bureaucrats. I mean, working in the high levels of the federal government pays well. A lot of people in the government making, north of $150,000. You get to be like a GS-14. Life is good. Heck, you're like a GS-11. Life is pretty good overall. Grunt Hunt saying, good day, mate, from Australia. Yes. Throw some shrimps on the bobby. Absence Mind saying, do I like the song overall? Yeah, I think the song overall, yeah, it's got a good tune. I like it. I like, it sounds like he's singing it with true emotion. I enjoy a song like that. Well, Chaucer's saying, why would you want Google to cut of my legal fees? Well, that's a separate issue. That money, I no longer have control over it. That would probably be, I mean, if somebody were to give me a retainer through a super chat, I would probably get disciplined because I've taken, there's money I no longer control that hasn't been earned yet. And if the client wanted it back, I would have to be able to provide it. And now I'm 30% down. So, that's the second issue there. Wow, you guys are like just machine gunning along here. Did I hear about Jason Aldean's newest one? Yeah, the Triton a small town thing. But Jason Aldean said a lot of shitty things about the Second Amendment. Like, we can't have people having guns. He said some, really shit things a couple of years ago. So no, he's a little bitch anyway. Garrett's saying if that's you watch the video, if that's the face I make when singing, I don't make that face when singing. I can't sing. So that's the problem. Harriet Stevens saying, do you know anything about work injury cases and workers' comp? I'm going through that right now. Best thing I can tell you is get a hold of an attorney wherever it is you are. There are lots of workers' comp and workplace injury attorneys. They will do your cases on contingency. If they think you got a good case, they generally do free consultations. I recommend getting in touch with one ASAP. You can call them on the weekends and set something up. So when you get the chance tomorrow morning, start looking around where you are in the nearest town, the nearest guys, and just start calling, trying to make contact. I would highly recommend that. Yes, Brandon Herrera, the AK guy's going. Yeah, I'm just worried he's going to become friends with Eye Patch. Just didn't like that. Didn't like that whole thing about him and Eye Patch hanging out. But, maybe that was just him trying to grift. I get it. Hopefully that's the case. Eric Foam saying, was Aldean at the Vegas shooting? Yeah, I think he was, which is another unsolved mystery, surprisingly. Harry Stevens says, I'm a Teamster and hired a lawyer immediately. Good. Yeah, just keep in contact with your lawyer, work with your union. I mean, they'll help you out. James is saying, is Attorney Tom a work injury attorney? I think Attorney Tom goes after some of the bigger personal injury cases. I know he did the whole all those people getting trampled in Texas at that concert, the Travis Scott concert last year. I don't think he does necessarily any type of like workers injury, but if it's like a really big one where there's a lot of money involved, yeah, I bet he'd get involved in it. G says, would I ever run against our horrible, corrupt U.S. Congresspersons? I mean, that would be fun and all, but nobody would want to vote for me. I mean, they'd listen to half the crap I'd say here, and half the normies wouldn't vote for me. So, while it sounds like fun, no, it ain't happening. It is not happening. Okay, Eric is saying Attorney Tom chases Hot Wheels ambulances. Hey, he chases Hot Wheels ambulances and he gets settlements, though. So, hey, it works. Oh, you guys can hear the dog. Not sure which dog's barking right now. All right. So that is kind of where we are with things. Now, I wanted to cover this because it is interesting. There is a case going to the Supreme Court, and I'm sure you guys have heard about it. A while back, the Fifth Circuit struck down part of 18 USC 922 G8, which is the provision saying that you can be it is a crime to possess firearms when you are subject to a restraining order of some sort. Well, the guy involved in that, Zachary Rahimi, went to federal court, got convicted. Okay, went to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. They initially said no, but then Bruin came out and they re-evaluated and they said, okay, yes, under Bruin, it's all good. You can own guns. Your conviction's overturned. Now the Supreme Court has gone to, or the ATF has gone to the Supreme Court. I'm not ending the show now. And with that, there are a lot of people who are entering amicus briefs or amicus briefs, however you want to call it. And we've got some interesting stuff going on. So this is the case here. This is the Supreme Court of the United States. It is U.S. v. Zaki Rahimi. Now, he did get caught because at some point he did have a restraining order and the police found out that he had guns. They went and caught him. They searched and they did find guns and he was tried federally. So the government has sought certiorari and they were granted. And the brief is by the 97% group. Now, why is it important we know who those guys are? Well, the 97% is a gun group. And 97% are these guys. And they are a gun group that's basically grassroots who run around saying, we're the 97% of gun owners who appreciate any sort of reasonable gun laws. We want to change things. No. So that is where we are with this. They are basically a bullshit organization meant to come around saying, we're the responsible. We'll accept common sense. And it just when you go on Twitter, look at them and read their things, it is just garbage. So anyway, with their brief, they bring up, who they are, what they do, what they're talking about. They bring up their table of authorities. It's interesting. They bring up Heller. They bring up a couple of other ones. And they bring up our beautiful one, the one we love the most, Bruin. So they bring up all kinds of things here. They cite a bunch of things that are going on. And, they put out there a bipartisan group of gun owners, which is bullshit code for they are controlled opposition. They're focused on finding common sense solutions for gun violence while respecting Second Amendment rights. And they come with that because there's a poll which claims that 97% of Americans support background checks. No, they don't. No, they don't. Now they just lay out why they're there and they want to talk about it. And they want to have this. They want to have this reverse from the Fifth Circuit, saying, "No, this is a reasonable restriction that you cannot own guns if you have a restraining order." And they are opposing this guy getting his guns and get his conviction overturned. And they focus on that there are issues of primary importance, which is committed equally to the Second Amendment and public safety. It doesn't work like that. No, I'm balancing my rights, but no. No. They talk about, throughout history, the right to bear arms has been extended only to those who exercise it for lawful ends. So you're saying as long as I'm being lawful, I can carry guns and do whatever I want, absent any other restriction? Because that's how it used to be. I'm sure that's not what they want. They do point out that firearms may be kept from those who have demonstrated a proclivity for violence or whose possession of guns would otherwise threaten the public safety. Yes, and that was generally minorities because we can't have the black folk running around with guns. Oh, lordy, that would be bad. Can't allow that. And that's the interesting part there, that they don't, they're not really willing to acknowledge yet. So let's get to their argument, because the argument is really the issue there. Now, they talk about the long history. The long history of gun laws were no slaves own guns. That was it. And then that was the only rule. Slaves can't own guns. And slaves aren't allowed to handle firearms. Why? Because we don't want them doing that. So that is, and it's this issue where they talk about the dangerousness. And I wanted to get to this point because they talk about the limiting of rights. And in Pennsylvania, the anti-federalist minority proposed a highly influential right to bear arms that included language limiting both the right and the state's power to restrict it. No law shall be passed for disarming the people or any of them unless for crimes committed or real danger of public injury of individuals. Okay. Now, that's a little weird to read, but this is from the Anti-Federalist Papers. And if you guys ever get a chance to read them, this is from what's the address is a reason. It's called The Dissent of the Minority of the State of Pennsylvania. In shorthand, it's known as The Dissent of the Pennsylvania Minority. It's actually a very good read. They lay out a very well structured argument that's easy to follow along why they don't support the Bill of Rights being put in and they don't support the Federalist position. So they are there. They talk about Massachusetts, that Samuel Adams, one of the founding fathers, proposed a similar provision to ensure that the Constitution never be construed to prevent the people in the United States who are peaceable citizens from owning their arms. Okay. But keep in mind, they also didn't treat, criminals with a lifetime prohibition on things. You served your time, you were done. But this is the best part of it, and I read it earlier, and I just thought this was great. Thus, it is no surprise that throughout American history, groups of people have been prevented from purchasing and possessing firearms based on their perceptions of dangerousness. In the founding era, slaves and Native Americans were thought to pose immediate threats to public safety and stability and were disarmed as a matter of course. Yes. Well, hey, look, we're not saying we're racist, but we can use racist gun laws. This is the historical context they want to provide. Well, Your Honor, we disarm minorities. I mean, does that mean I could, you're going to have people coming into court making arguments, I want to disarm minorities. Why? Well, these guys agree that under Bruin, you have that right. And this is the best thing here. Race-based disarmament is disgraceful. Of course, it has no place in the modern era. But I love that. Taking guns away from minorities is disgraceful. But just admit who they are. Oh, they disarmed groups who they determined were a threat to public safety. So I'm not against minorities owning guns, but the founding fathers did that, so it's okay. Absolute fucking garbage from these people. Yes, but yes, that's it's just 100% but. It's just this is just. Darren is right. They also hanged pretty much every felon. Yeah, most felonies were death penalty offenses. So it is very interesting what happens there. G is right, and this is a full-blown ignoring of Bruin. Bruin asked them to consider the how and the why. Yes. Zero Fuck saying the white slaves couldn't have them either, though. Yes, anybody who was considered to be lower, they didn't let own firearms, and they didn't like, same reason why Italians and Irish were not considered white for a long time. It's about controlling power. And it's interesting today, they want to control power by disarming minorities, and they're using the disarming of minorities as an excuse and justification to say they have the right to come in and disarm other people. Why? Oh, because we did a bunch of racist shit back in the day. Well, we can treat people poorly now. Just brilliant government logic. Not that, oh, wow, we're treating people poorly and like shit. Maybe we shouldn't do this. Nah, that's not it. Oh. I mean, I wanted to get to this part because I thought it was just beautiful the way they come in here and they talk about all of it. We can't let the darkies and the Indians own guns. That's never going to be good. That's not right. That's dangerous. It's so awful and so garbage. Bill Mitchell got laid out last night by Laura Loomer on Timcast. Yeah, but here's the deal. Bill Mitchell and Laura Loomer in a room together. I'm hoping a fucking asteroid hits. I am hoping a fucking asteroid hits that building. Or I'm hoping the SWAT, like Tim Pool got swatted again and the SWAT guy accidentally lets his finger slip and stitches them both up. So I watched bits and pieces of that on Twitter, and it's been like I can't watch it. The people that have watched it, you're better than I am. Chadwick Meyer says lawyers are not people. Don't disagree with you. There are times where, yes, I live up to that. I live up to that 100%. Brimstone says, "Is Laura Loomer wrecked that aging lesbian?" Yeah. Barton Bell is saying, "Is there a live chat for tonight?" Oh, I think you mean on locals. Yeah, no, I didn't have time tonight, and I for these kind of streams where I'm kind of like on, but I didn't plan on being on. Generally, no, there isn't one. But if I start doing these like more and more, I probably would set one up. It's just kind of forgot to set one up and ran out of time, so no. Ken's Counseling Couch says, "We did a bunch of racist shit back in the day." Okay, says you. Some of us like having fun on our Friday nights. You guys are saying, "Oh, it was hilarious watching Bill Mitchell and Laura Loomer." Yeah, but just that woman is just, I don't know what the hell she's done to herself, but she's gotten more and more grotesque as the years go on. It says, "Why do I hate Laura Loomer?" She's cringe. She's awful. She's just no good. I mean, she chained herself to the doors of Twitter for an hour until she got cold, and then she went home. Heat Shield saying, "All right, that was fun while it lasted. See ya." Well, no, have a good one. Uh, Carrie saying, "And I can't get upset about Emily Baker." You can. You totally can. Um, the only person worse than Laura Loomer is Tim Pool. Oh no, there's a whole strata of that. Like you're forgetting BreadTube. I mean, like Fosh is always at the bottom. Like there's a lot of people worse than Laura Loomer. I don't like her, but she is not in the running for the title belt of worst person in the world. Laundry Clip says, "Can you rant for me? I Venmo'd you." I mean, I don't. Where are we? Let me see here. What did Ag Biochemist is saying for $4.99? Thank you, by the way. Check out the U.S. Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals versus Patrick Daniels. It was a case of the Second Amendment rights versus marijuana use. Yeah, that one turned out really good as well. And there's a lot coming, and I think yeah, I mean, it's good. These are salad days. Now, I wish these were the same days where you hear about, like in the mid 90s, when guys were buying like South African battle packs of ammunition for, you know, pennies per round. I've heard the stories of, in the 90s, guys buying like buying a case of like 308 ammo or a crate of it, and they go to the range and they're shooting it. And then after a while, they turn around and look, and they don't want to carry the crate all the way back to their car or their truck. So they sit there and just bump fire 308 into the berm at like 10, 15 feet away just to burn it up so they don't have to carry it back. So there are some salad days that we never got to experience, but I think we're in our own kind of salad day situation. So yeah, just enjoy it. We're in a good spot now. Oh, yes, Lord Loomer is yeah, she's a pick me. Yes, she is. Justin saying, "Did she pop her own tire?" I don't know if she did. It wouldn't surprise me if she did. Carrie said, "You yelled at me." When did I yell at you? Um, Pool's a midwit. Yeah, Tim is a bit. I get it, but that's how he makes the money. That's how he makes the money. Okay. Yes. Sean could use some salad days. LOL. Yes, I could, and I do. But hey, what can I say? Your mom makes pork chops real good, and I don't want to turn them down. Jay Luther is saying, not asking about constitutional carry, I'm asking a practical question. How does Florida restore the rights of felons to own guns? It's federal law. No, there are ways you can get your rights restored to own firearms. Generally, it's through your state. Um, Obviously, the easiest way is to get a pardon for your offense, because then the pardon doesn't get rid of the crime itself, but it wipes away the crime. It wipes away the fact that you have a punishment. There's a penalty, and anything attached to that gets wiped out. But the fact you were charged still exists. So that would be option one. Option two is I think there's some states, after a while, you just automatically, as a course of law, get it back. I think most don't. In Ohio, you have to petition to a court to get your rights back, but you can get them back. And then, under federal law, if you were convicted under federal law, you need a pardon from the president. And then the ATF at one point did have money in a unit that was charged with helping people sort that out, but that has been defunded for the better part of 30 years. So the ATF can no longer help you. It's generally state government only. Or if it's federal, you can ask for a pardon, which you're probably not going to get. So, Florida said 7 years and good to go. Well, that's pretty cool. Walter Malone says, remember, chat, every time you fat shame Sean, he cuts himself. Another slice of cheesecake. Oh! Yes, that's a good one. Yes, that cheesecake will get salted with my tears. Parton Bell is saying he got a $1 million book deal. Guy still has student loans. Where do y'all get this crap? DeSantis still has student loans. Okay. I was like, who the hell's got student loans still? Like, I know I do. I got a shitload of them. Gabriel Loken says, I don't understand why felons can't vote. I think that when you commit a crime and you're punished, part of that punishment is a deprivation of your rights, because that's like your right to freedom, your right to freedom of movement. No, you're restricted to prison. Well, when you're restricted to prison, you don't have a right to own guns anymore, because that would be a little hard to stay in prison or get imprisoned when you own guns. I think the right to vote, yes, because somebody could run on a platform of, I'll let all the prisoners out if you vote for me, and you might get enough to win there. It's telling Starship Troopers, they say you only get to vote once you're done, because if you vote while you're in, you might vote not to jump. So I think if you're in prison and incarcerated, like if you're post-conviction, you shouldn't be allowed to vote, especially if you're a felon. Get your time done and get out. Fine, cool. But let's say you're sitting in jail and you had a DUI and it's a misdemeanor. Yeah, I think you should still be allowed to vote. Like, they should come by and you should be allowed to get your ballot filled out, and they help you get it where it needs to go. Garfield's saying, after they get released, it doesn't make sense. Well, part of it is, yes, a lifetime prohibition is bullshit. And I think after a while, you should be allowed to sit back on it. In Ohio, after a while, you get your rights back automatically, except for guns. After a couple of years, once your supervision and everything's done, because you might get put on parole. There might be like probation terms out there. But I don't think that's wrong to have it. It's just a permanent prohibition is wrong, or like a 10-year prohibition is wrong. After a couple of years, okay, boom, your right to be on a jury comes back. boom, your right to run for office comes back, which means you shall, boom, you have the right to vote as well. I don't think there's anything wrong with those coming back. So, well, you guys are all about Ronnie DeSantis out there. So that is kind of where it is. But I agree, you shouldn't be restricted forever. I don't think that's the way to do it. I don't think that helps anybody. I don't think that helps anybody at all. Let's see. Where are you guys at with this? Rossman Ranch saying, I think people living off the government tit shouldn't have a vote because they'll only vote for bigger titties. Some do. But I'd say, for example, you get laid off from your job. So you get fired. And you get fired in October of 2024. You get fired from your job. And you're on unemployment for a couple weeks. So you can find a new job. But you find one right away, like the week before Thanksgiving. But you just lost a job and you've worked for 20 years straight. Well, the election's coming up. And your family also, your kids need to eat. And you need a little bit of money to get through this time so you can get your other job going. Okay, great. So do we tell that person, sorry, you're taking welfare and it's unemployment for like 4 weeks? Still, man, can't vote. See, I think that's where it gets to be a little obnoxious. Passing these rules about, you can't be on assistance, you have to own land. Those are done to get rid of populist elements and populist voters. Most of us wouldn't be allowed to vote back in the day. We'd be pushed out. Oh, Rossman saying eternally people on welfare. Sure. Kelly, I'm saying any planned chats with Nick soon? Yes, I understand that reference. No. And they didn't have any before, so. Let's see hold on here. I gotta open this up. Okay, so hold on, Leonard. Did you wait? Hey, Leonard, it's saying it didn't show up here, so I'm not sure. Send me an email because I'm not sure what you want me to do. What you're wanting me to. Let's see here. Oh, okay. Rant for demonetizing me for use content. When did you get demonetized? Like recently it happened? I remember back when it happened before. There was an issue, but did it happen again? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Darren is saying, back in the day, if you didn't own land, you moved to Ohio. Yes, just a bunch of poor people here in Ohio. Carrie saying employees paying unemployment. Well, that's an additional part of it. But the thing is, you can get far more out of unemployment than what you paid into it. So it's not just like an example, it's just your money hanging off to the side. It's just like Social Security, it's getting paid out to other people. So I get the argument there, but after a while you're getting paid more than what you were paying into it. But I still don't think it, to argue it's welfare, I don't think is the right way either. I mean, it's assistance. Also, because you can't be on it forever. But I understand there's other types of things out there, government money that could be considered welfare, but I wouldn't consider, unemployment to be in that same boat. Mike, yes, this is actually, you know what? I will give. This is it. If you were president and you wanted to make sure that you stayed in power, you just tank the fucking economy in August and make people sit on unemployment and nobody can vote. I mean, that's another way to do it. That is another way to do it. Oh God, it is 1:30. I am beat the fuck. I was up all damn day. You got demonetized last Tuesday. I mean, but that's, when it comes to this shit, it really is getting infuriating, especially with YouTube. Oh, we're going to check to make sure you're demonetized, or we need to make sure it's suitable for ad viewers. It takes them a week. And what do? Do they run it through a program? No, you've got some fucking guy who lives in the third world, probably has to walk down the street where people are shitting all around him to come in and start looking at my videos and say, what is this guy from America saying? And does it, English ain't your first language. You have an understanding of copyright law. Don't understand a goddamn thing I'm talking about, but you're going to make the decision whether or not my things are reviewed right and whether or not I can be using this to try to make a living off of it. It's fucking ridiculous. And YouTube lets people abuse the copyright system all the time. Last week when I had the one where the guy shot the lady he shot the dog and missed, I've been talking about that thing for 10 whole minutes. And the group that had the initial news broadcast of it tried to put a copyright notice on me. Why? Because they said there was like a 2-minute stretch they identified, yet there's spots where I'm talking in it, and then I heavily am using it before and after the spot they claim. They got to do that, screw with me, for like 3 weeks. And then they're like, oh yeah, you're right, bro, it's all good. No, it shouldn't work like that. I mean, I don't understand why it's so hard for YouTube to have this set up where, like, you need to prove they don't have the right to show what they're showing. Because instead, it comes on the creator to say, like, no, I'm allowed to do this. I mean, we're the only people who get stuck and fucked in that manner. That it's all on us to prove our innocence. I think is absolutely fucking horrible. I hope you get it back. I hope you get remonetized because it's absolute bullshit. Because you're in a position where everybody who goes on there, you've communicated, you've asked people, hey, can I clip this? Can I clip that? And I can't imagine any of them told you no. So I don't understand why the fuck YouTube's getting involved. They don't have any right there. A bunch of other people involved have said it's all good. And that's all that needs to be worried about. Amazing Disgrace says, I'd vote for Mike. Yeah, that's a brilliant idea. Hope that's what you're looking for, Law and Order Eclipse. So I hope you get your stuff back. Kelly R saying, I know you're ready to chill, but you got to watch that congressman from Hawaii talk about the fires. He looks thrilled when you have time. Oh, I will. Thank you for your super chat, by the way. I appreciate it. Yeah, the whole thing with Hawaii, including the guy in charge of the water, and he's like, no, we look at it like it's the one world, the one water policy, man. Water is sacred to our earth, so we have to be careful with it. It's like when everybody's house is burning down is probably the time you want to be like just not Bogart in the fucking water. But what do I know? Cody's saying, damn it, Sean, I just came to say hi. Night, dude, in chat. Well, thank you. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to take a look at that. Oh, you're saying YouTube? I think YouTube has some dude shooting darts and who to monetize next. Yeah, I think so too. But I mean, that's the shitty way they do things at this point. And they're the biggest kid on the block. So until there's another way, I mean, it's using them. So Augustus Tiberius said the Maui fires were planted. I don't know if they were planted, but I can see why the conditions were so ripe. I mean, it was dry. I mean, it was a lot of things that happened at once, and people in charge didn't sound the sirens and may have saved some lives. There was all kinds of things that they let people die. So, let's see here. Jabble Dunn says, "What is a Saturday morning stream for potentially millennial?" Yeah, well, Mazer's Grace says a transformer blew up. Yeah, that's but then all that dry grass just which happens, and it doesn't help that there's a massive wind there, fanning the flames. So, guys, yeah, that is it for me tonight. I am sorry that last little bit there. I was just like, I'm just dragging ass right now. So I am going to probably call it a night here because I thought I'd go for a little while longer, but I cannot. I am just boof. Um, Chester Fraud says, "Who would have thought that a volcanic island would have fire coverage on the insurance plans?" Well, remember though, that's no damage from a volcano is not the same as damage from a fire. The same way in when Hurricane Katrina happened, Farm especially was notorious for saying that's not flood, that's storm surge, not flood damage. There's a difference, and here's why we're not covering. So, they were covering, you can cover a house getting hit by a hurricane, but when the storm surge comes in, that can cause an issue. That's, for example, why in New Orleans and during Katrina, a bunch of houses burned down the water line because the owners realized, well, they're not going to pay for it. I'll burn the house down to the water line and go from there. Jay Lewis is saying Maui is not volcanic. It's all volcanic to me. Uh, you know, Davell is saying, your underwriters have to write a policy for fire and flood. Yeah, they do. They do. Amazing Disgrace saying it's an act of God versus an act of negligent humans. Well, yes, it was all picked and they didn't really have any flexibility. So, but yeah, guys, with that being said, thank you to everybody here. If you guys are over on Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, or actually, those are only 4 tonight. So, once again, thank you to everybody being here. Thank you for all the people in the chat. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for all that fun stuff. Thank you for all the super chats. I appreciate it. You guys are great. I love it when you guys are engaging in conversation. And yeah, it makes the day makes it so much fun. Believe it or not, it does. It 100% does. Wait. Oh, there hasn't been a catastrophic eruption in 300 years there, so we're not volcanic. Peak human stupidity. Wonder if that's how far back it goes on the Maui. So, all right, guys. Well, that is it for me tonight. And remember, until next time, just because you did it does not mean you're guilty. Good night, guys. Tuck me in. I'll tuck your mom in.